Welcome to the Explainer. You know, governments are always floating ideas for new projects, everything from hospitals to big tech initiatives. But here's the thing, their funds are limited. So how on earth do they decide which ones actually get the green light? Today, we're going to unpack the one document that's absolutely crucial for turning those ambitious ideas into a reality.
All right, so here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at the massive challenge governments are up against. Then we'll walk through the whole process, how an idea gets pitched, how the action plan is laid out, how they build in safeguards, and of course, how it all gets paid for. And stick around, because at the end, we'll talk about why this whole thing is so much more than just a pile of paperwork.
Okay, first things first, let's set the stage here. Because every single government, doesn't matter how big or small, is wrestling with one core challenge that shapes pretty much every decision they make.
And this isn't some abstract academic question, right? It's a real-world, everyday problem. You've got limited cash. So what do? Build that new road? Fund a new health program? Maybe invest in some digital infrastructure? You can't do it all. To make the right call, you absolutely need a system.
And that system, well, it comes down to this form. Seriously, the best way to think about it is like a standardized pitch deck, but for government projects. It makes every single idea, whether it's huge or tiny, answer the exact same tough questions. That way, you can have a fair apples-to-apples comparison before a single dollar gets spent.
All right, let's get into the pitch itself. This is the first major hurdle. It's all about spelling out the project's core mission and proving why it's so important right now. This is basically where an idea has to scream, "Hey, listen to me, I'm worth it."
And it all kicks off with being crystal clear. I mean, they're not messing around here. No vague, fluffy titles. The instructions are super specific. The name of the project has to tell you exactly what it does. So right from the get-go, everyone's on the same page.
And here's the next big thing. A project can't just be a standalone cool idea. It has to connect to the bigger picture. It's got to directly support one of these key national goals. This makes sure that every new thing they do is like a puzzle piece, fitting perfectly into the country's overall strategy.
But, just checking a box and aligning with one goal isn't quite enough. The form goes a step further and asks a really interesting question. Is your project a team player? Can it actually collaborate and work with other initiatives?
And that leads us to this concept, program convergence budgeting. It sounds a bit jargony, but the idea is actually brilliant. It's all about getting different agencies to work together on massive programs. So instead of projects operating in their own little silos, something from, say, the Department of Health is designed from the start to plug into a huge coordinated effort like universal healthcare. It's all about synergy.
Okay, so the big idea is on the table, it's justified, and it fits the national strategy. Now we get to the really fun part, the blueprint. This is the nitty-gritty, practical plan for how this thing is actually going to happen. First up, the timeline. And we're not talking about some vague, sometime in the future goal. This form demands a clear, realistic schedule, a specific start date, a specific end date. It pins down the project's entire lifespan before anything even starts. Next, they have to answer, who does this actually help, and how many of them? The proposal has to put a number on it, the total number of citizens who will directly benefit. This is so important because it shifts the conversation away from abstract policy and focuses it on tangible, real-world impact for actual people. And I love this part, the readiness checklist. This isn't about the idea anymore. It's about whether they're actually ready to go. Have they gotten the permits, secured the land, got a plan for procurement? It's basically a test to prove the project can hit the ground running. It forces everyone to do their homework before asking for money, which helps avoid so many headaches and delays down the road. So that whole readiness checklist thing, it leads us right into the next crucial step, building confidence. Because look, having a solid plan is great, but how do you prove the project will actually work and that taxpayer money is going to be spent wisely? This is where the safeguards come in. So how does a proposal build that trust? A fantastic idea and a detailed plan are a great start, for sure. But a truly solid project also has to think ahead about what could go wrong and have a way to measure its own success. I think this is so smart. The form basically makes the agencies be brutally honest about what could go wrong. They have to list out the potential risks, things like construction delays, or maybe the community not being on board. But more importantly, they can't just list problems. They have to come up with a concrete plan to manage those risks before they blow up.
And to make sure everything stays on track, a full-on monitoring and evaluation plan is non-negotiable. It spells out the entire data process. Who's collecting the data, where is it coming from, who's making sure it's accurate, who's analyzing it, and who gets the final reports. It creates this powerful feedback loop that's all about accountability.
Okay, so we have the plan, we have the readiness check, we have all the safeguards in place, which brings us, finally, to the question that's been on everyone's mind from the start.
The money. This whole section is about total financial transparency. It's designed to give the people holding the purse strings a super clear, itemized breakdown of exactly how every single peso is going to be spent.
And they have to get granular. Costs are broken down by year and by what they're being spent on: personnel, maintenance, capital investments. This gives you the full financial story, not just for year one, but for the entire life of the project.
But the detail doesn't stop there. The proposal also has to show you where the money's going visually. So if a project has different components like construction and training, the form makes them break down the cost for each part. That way you can see at a glance where the biggest chunks of the budget are really going.
And this might be one of the most crucial parts of the whole budget section. They also have to estimate the ongoing operating costs, because financial responsibility doesn't just stop when the ribbon is cut. They have to think about the long-term cost to actually run and maintain the thing, making sure the project is actually sustainable for years to come.
All right, let's pull back and wrap this all up. After digging into all these details, the pitch, the plan, the budget, what's the big takeaway? Why does a form like this really truly matter?
Well, when you get right down to it, what does this all mean? It means a project isn't just a random line item in a budget. It's a promise to the public. And this form is what makes sure that before a single peso of our money is spent, that promise is well thought out, totally transparent, and accountable. It basically transforms a simple funding request into a detailed contract with all of us, built on clear goals, measurable results, and just plain old responsible planning.